What's going on, guys? Big welcome to you all to our channel. We are Team Crushing the Meta. Today you are here with D-Boy, and in this video we will show you the deck that I was able to get top 8 with X1 in 2 events from the Bushiroad Championship Series, the Spring Fest team event. Although we got a beautiful gold medal, which was another team from Crushing the Meta that played that game, Genesis, Pale Moon, and Royals, Jewel Knights, Nightmare Dolls, and Himiko. There will be more videos on the channel on lots of decks that we have played in the Spring Fest. And one of the decks that you guys were actually also interested to see, and you guys were like, yo, D-Boy, why are you letting us wait so long? Show us the Spike deck that you played. I will show you the Spike deck that I played. So this video will be the V version of the deck, and in the other video we will also talk about Premium, because I didn't play Overdress, I played Premium and V Premium. Alright, when we talk about the V format, we talk about spikes. There are 2 decks that you could play. You could play Dudleys, actually 3. You could play Dudleys, pure Dudleys. You could play fusion of the Dudley deck with Rising, or you could play pure Rising. If you play pure Rising, then you have the Rising built with something like a Spiking Cyclone or a General Siegfried, or whatever you like. If you talk about a combination of the two, then you basically have him built with... BullSpike will always be in the mix, but he will be built with Lucifer, and Lucifer or the Reavers, that would work as well. So in this deck we will show the pure version. For me, this was the strongest, this played the best, and this suits my playstyle the best. Also, me and Rising have a history of playing together, so this definitely is the deck that I feel the most comfortable playing. Alright, so without further ado, let's just jump into the deck, and after that I will show you the other choices that you could play, and maybe a small combo. If the video will take too long, we will do a separate video for the combo. Alright, so for the grade 3 lineup, first we will go fast through the deck and then come back and explain the lineups and also show you which other choices you could play. Alright, and also I will explain again why I chose for this deck. So 4 copies of Rising Nova, yeah, don't need to explain that. 4 copies of BullSpike, 2 Spiking Cyclone, and 2 Juggernaut Maximums. So this is basically the grade 3 lineup. We're not talking about the Heal Guardians right here, so only the normal grade 3s. We'll do the grade 2s right away. So we have the 4 copies of Rona, 4 copies of the Agile Fullback, 2 copies of Spruce, and 1 linebacker. You did not expect to see him. He is the hidden weapon. Alright, for the grade 1s, we play 4 beautiful Verdis, 4 beautiful Dexters, and 2 Williams. Alright, now we will show the trigger lineup. We play lots of grade 3s. I know. So for the trigger lineup, we play 4 copies of Silent Joker, and then the 8 draws, my personal signature. Heals, starter. Alright, that's basically it for the deck. Very simple, very effective, lots of 4-offs as much as you can to make the deck very consistent. Now we come to one important thing. Not only that the deck is consistent, the deck listens to you, and the deck fits my personal playstyle very well. So this the build that I play with the 8 draws and like the linebacker in it and Sprute at 2 is something, Juggernaut at 2 is something that is really made for me. So for you guys, I will go back and show you the core of the deck, and then you could actually change it the way that you want. Starting with the trigger lineup right here. What you basically will always play is, of course, the starter that came out, and what you play is you play at least a 4 crit, you do play the draws at 4 the PGs, and you also play the Heal Guardians. Then you have these 4. These 4 you could play the 2 extra draws on the 2 crits, or you could play the 8 crits, or you could play the 8 draws. That's basically up to you. For me, if you're trying the deck out, I would suggest that you play the 6 on 6, so you play the 6 crits and the 6 draws, and from that moment on it will be up to you to change it to the way that you want to play it. The reason why I play 8 crits is a question that I do get often, because people just do not understand the reason why I play it. Basically, because you play Rising, you create Force 1 and Force 2. Looking at the opponent damage, if you in the early game hit them up to 1 damage, then you're basically good to go, because then they need to take 2 damage at the time. So they will go to 3, then they will go to 5, and then they could not take damage anymore. But it's just 2 attacks, because you attack with Force 1 and Force 2 all the time. If you put them at 2 damage, that's the best thing you could do. Then from that moment on, they could only take 1 attack, which will put them at 4, and leave them at 4, which is perfect, because they could not take the 5th damage. And this is also the moment that they sometimes gamble. If you attack only with your Vanguard without moving the markers, that they would take the attack and gamble on you not getting a crit, if you give them that chance. If you move the markers, then they basically could not. One downside to that strategy is that you yourself most of the time have to go to the 5 damage, so they could not heal from 4 back to 3. And that's when, if you do them the 1 damage in the early game, then they could take 2 attacks, but that's also good, because the moment they heal, they still could not take an attack. So depending on going first or second, there's lots of thoughts put into this, but basically, when you have the extra crit, it doesn't really matter, because normally they will take the attack before your Vanguard attack, and later on they will guard the attack regardless on how much damage it does, because they could not take the damage anyway, because they will be at 4 or already at 5, so your crit will not make a huge difference. That's the idea behind playing the 8 draws. Again, this suits my playstyle the best, and I'm not expecting you to do the same thing. Then some people would say, oh, okay, why not to just take all the crits out and just play all out draws, 12 draws? Then that could work, but because you already have a good draw power engine, you'll be drawing too much into your draws, and drawing 4 of these is okay, but having 8 in them into the deck that you could draw into them is just stupid. And one other thing is that while playing this deck, sometimes you also need the right combo pieces left in your deck, so you don't want to draw too much. And last but not least, I do not always move the Force 2 or the markers in general to my Vanguard. So the crits on the Vanguard attack actually does make a huge difference. That's also one of the reasons why I play the Silent Joker, is that he say, I will take this game. Because the moment they see the Silent Joker, that's the moment they basically will die. So yeah, again, lots of thoughts put into it. Again, if I were you and you're trying the deck out, just play 6 on 6, you'll be good to go. You could always play this boy or the Memphis, up to you. Alright, now we go to the Great One lineup. So basically the core of the deck will of course play the 8 Great Ones. It's important to play Verdi, because you want to get the right grade 3 into the hand, and you basically want to get to Rising. And I've played some games that I was not able to get Rising, and you see that you're kind of playing half of the deck, half of the strength of the deck, because you're not creating both markers, you're not targeting more than 1 grade 3 to use the ability. And when we talk about Ambush Dexter, he does so much work in the deck. Not only copying grade 3s, but also copying grade 2s to make the right combo to the field. That's why the linebacker is so good. That's why fullback is so good. You could do so much things with Ambush Dexter. This card is one of the best cards that Spike has, because it's so dynamic, it's so easy, so flexible. Then we have extra great ones that we could add to the deck. And we've talked about this a lot, and there are lots of good great ones that we could play. Well, let's have our beautiful binder right here. So let's put these on the beautiful logo. And let's see what we have as in grade ones that we would or could play. So first things first, Wonder Boys. You don't have space to play 4, you could play 3, but it's not necessary. Having him on the field, sometimes you could not get rid of him, although you could also leave him in the soul. That works as well. So Wonder Boy is a good contestant or contender to put in the deck, but the thing is, I wanted to play only 2 extra grade 1s. I'll talk later about G assisting in games and stuff like that. Now we go to Snapper Devil. Snapper Devil is very good with offensive pinter because you could make a beautiful strong line. If you play only Snapper Devil, then most of the time you will not use the skill to counterblast to move the markers. Maybe if you don't have enough soul, but then William is better because William plus on the field, the same as he does, but he plus on hand, he pluses on the field, and William doesn't cost counterblast, but he goes into the soul, which means you could move the markers 2 times in that grade 3 turn. So if you talk about William and Snapper Devil, then William is way better in my opinion. Big Blow Ted, the same as Wonder Boy. You could play 1 or random 2 copies of him in the deck. That would work, but I don't see that it's necessary to do so because we also have the grade 2 that could recycle the cards, which is of course our one and only Spruce. Alright, then we have Offensive Pinter. I do like the card a lot. I like the plus on the field, but one downside to him is that he never goes back to your soul. He minuses your soul too if you use his skill as well. While William actually goes back to the soul and pluses you on soul as he himself moves the markers already. So again, the combination of these two together is kind of this guy. That's why I like him. Right, we have other options as well. You could play Commander Gary Cannon, very good card, but very good with Bracky because you have the early game pressure. If you do not, then sometimes he would stay on the field too much and you don't want that because he will just be in the way. That's it with your great ones. Every great one that you call will basically be in the way. Gloria doesn't fit into this deck that much. You have the version of the deck that you play Rising with the reverse. In that deck, Gloria plays a big part. And that's actually it for the great ones, because otherwise we'll come into premium. There are of course other great ones that you could play, but those are basically the best contenders. And with that, I actually made the decision to play the 2 William. Again, if you feel like UGS is too much on this deck on great one, you could add an extra William. And the card that you will take out is this boy. So we played this boy at 1. We played 2, 4, 4. Core of the deck. 4 Rona and 4 Agile fullback. Basically, you need to play 4 on 4. Rona's too good, your best and only good right target in the deck if you don't play cards like Ronaldo, let's say. And Agile fullback is just the best combination between linebacker and Bracky. He basically kicked Bracky out of the deck. So yeah, you need to play these at 4. Then we have Spruce. Depending on the format that you play in, the Excel clans, which clans, and what they play, these two could be very effective or a little bit less effective. One good thing about these 2 cards is that he recycles your units back to the deck. And as you have seen from our grade 3 lineup, we play only 2 on 2, which means that sometimes you do rely on these to put the right grade 3s back to your deck. One downside to this card is that he does that after you attack, which cards like Big Blow Ted or Wonder Boy do that on place, which means that you could still call those units. So with him, you have to think like about the future, about how you want the game to progress. But I do like him because he also goes to soul, he pressures, and he's a good target to call with linebacker if you use the ambush Dexter skill. Linebacker is a very, very interesting card. Not only that he is good offensively, but he's also pretty nice defensively, because he could still intercept from the back row. He leaves an open regular circle behind him, which means you make space for your ambush Dexter to come on the field and target some stuff. I do like the way that the card is kind of a hidden weapon, as they know that you have the full back. Linebacker could give you that extra attack, and with 6 attacks a turn, the deck could become very, very, very insane to stop, especially on the second grade 3 ride, which again, I will show you in the combo video. This card does so much work in the deck, as it's only a one-off, but it's very effective. Alright, which other cards could we play to replace these cards? Well, again, if you want to play an extra great one, I would take him out to play the extra great one. And if you really want to play something else, then Sprut, because you don't feel like he's necessary or he's good in this format, yeah, you could take him out to play something else. Alright, let's check the grade 2s. So we have Bracky, always good, but I don't feel like he's necessary, and these we already play. Alright, we have Ronaldo, could be a beautiful SP you have in your deck, which is a good right target. Problem with the Ronaldo is you kind of minus from hand, and what you call from the top of your deck would be random. So I would rather have Rona, who would call me the right grade 3, depending on what my hand has, depending on if I'm first or second, depending on what I want to do. Spike Bouncer, very good, but the Soul Blast hurts, and you don't have enough counter blasts to use the second ability. Dudley Mason, interesting card, but because his skill required him to have Emperor on the field, so he could go back to the deck. Again, it's not the right deck to put him in. And basically, you have other grade 2s that you could play in the deck. I don't have them in here, but we could get the big binder, I guess. If we have to, let's get the big binder. Alright, big boy binder. Alright. So we are going to dig deep into the grade 2s. Alright, so we have already talked about these. Let's go even further. Alright. When we get into these, what other grade 2s that you see right here that you would play? Well, of course you could not play him. You could play this boy. This boy is interesting because he has the hit pressure, which could become very, very, very good. It's a card that I played even in this deck, and I found him still very good. The counterblast to move the markers for him is better than you have for the Snapper Devil, because his is actually very flexible because you don't always have to use it, while the Snapper Devil will be in the back row, and most of the time that's his only reason to stay there, while he still has the hit pressure. So very good. It's a very beautiful shiny card, and I love the art on him. It's also one of the reasons that I would play him. If we don't have the counterblast to play him, there is no reason to play this card. Even with the ambush texture in the deck, I didn't feel like it was necessary to play him. But there will be a moment that this card could shine, but I don't know about that for now. He could be a one-off in this deck, but for now I find Sprut a little bit better. We don't have space to play 4 off, so that's that. We already have him in the deck, so yeah. Now we come to interesting choices. No reason to play Panther, but there is reason to play this boy. This boy's shield value could become very effective, especially as an interceptor against the right deck. And when you ride the second time into Rising, you have the 4 markers. This will be a 25k shield, which is huge. I would love to have a grade 1 with this ability. We don't have any defensive grade 1 in this deck. Oh yeah, we kind of have one, but it's 1 even without ability, which is referee. We just have the 15k shield. But this is one of the cards that I did try in the deck, and I did like it a lot. So we have 3 cards that I like. 1, 2, and 3. So you could play those if you want to. You could try them out and see how it works. Alright, now we get into the grade 3s. We've already talked about Lucifer. We've also already talked about Janelle Seafried. But let's talk about the grade 3s again. Alright, so for the grade 3 lineup, 2 Juggernauts seems very random, but they are not. 2 Cyclones seems very random, but they play a big part of the deck. BullSpikes on the top of the BullSpike, and of course the 4 Risings. Core of the deck, 4 Risings. at least 3 BullSpike, at least 2 Cyclone or General Sea Freeze or whatever second grade 3 you want to target with the deck. Then we have some other cards you could play. You don't have to play Juggernaut. I understand you don't playing Juggernaut in the deck, and it works. You don't need him, but I do play him. Art, aesthetics, yes. Second thing, targeting him with the Spiking Cyclone to restand this guy, this boy makes a huge difference. Not only he is a 13k, but he's a 23k attacker. With the 2 force markers or the 1 force marker that you have beneath him, makes this guy 33, 43, just like that. And it's in standards, in V, I mean V, we call it standard. We still call V standard. Did you know that in our team we kind of still call this standard, but let's call it V. So in V, those numbers are huge. That's a Sentinel crit that your opponent has to drop just like that. And that's why the Juggernaut is a huge attacker in this deck. For me, personally, I love playing him. For you guys, you could take him out to put wherever you want in the deck. Now we come to this boy. This boy have been taken out of the deck to add the extra Cyclone, to add an extra grade 1, to even add the extra grade 2. But he always come back because he is your second best right target. There will be some point in some games that your opponent will take out your 2 Cyclones, even if you play 3, they take out your 3 Cyclones, and you basically have nothing to target with Rising except the BullSpike. You could target 2 BullSpikes to retire 2 and draw 2, but against some matches, you will not have enough soul, especially if you have pressured them too much on the first right target and you don't have enough soul. Then what you do from that moment on is you ride from Rising back to the BullSpike. And this doesn't really matter, because if you ride into another Rising, you create a second Force 2 marker. But with only one Force 2 marker and a second Force 1 marker, you're already good to go. The big difference right here is if you stay on Rising and you don't have another copy of him in your hand, but you do have a BullSpike, this needs to Soul Blast something for his ability to activate. Well, when you ride on the top of him, you plus on Soul, and you don't have to Soul Blast anything for his ability to target something. So this is a +2 on Soul. I will explain. So let's say that this is your Soul, right? So you have 2 cards in your Soul. If you have a BullSpike on the field and you have a BullSpike on hand, okay, but you don't have a second Rising. If you had a second Rising, you of course ride into Rising, call the second BullSpike, Soul Blast or Rising, target these 2, you're good to go. But if you don't have another Rising in your hand, but you have another BullSpike in your hand, now you have the choice. You could choose to call the BullSpike, Soul Blast something, and target these 2. That's good as well. But in this point, you only have 1 soul. Well, if you do it like this, right, create markers, then you have 3 soul to move the markers around. So depending on what you have in your hand, you could choose to ride into this or not. Because you have already created the Force 2 marker that you will be moving around all the time, it's okay to go back and ride into BullSpike. It's even okay to go back and ride into Spiking Cyclone if you don't have Soul, because without Soul, you basically will not be able to move the markers around. So that's the idea behind playing the 4 copies of the BullSpike, because basically, again, he is your second best right target. Alright, I don't think that we have to explain much more about the grade 3 lineup. I don't have to explain their skills. I'm assuming you already know what everything does. If not, then you will really have to let me know in the comment section below, and I will go into that. Right, so this is basically it for the deck. Now we could talk a little bit about the matchups. So you heard me say top 8, and you heard me say 2 times X1. So I did lose. I was not undefeated, which is something that does not really happen that often, because normally I could go into the Swiss undefeated until something crazy happens, like a over trigger which comes at the wrong timing. But because we are talking in V, there is no over trigger. In my opinion, the most real format to play. What happens? Well, if we talk about because I played Oberhauser Germany and I play Mouveau in France. If we talk about Oberhauser first, then there was one game where I had to G assist 2 times into getting grade 1, didn't get it, and when my opponent get to grade 3, get into Valkyrian, he kicked my ass. Although I could defend all of his attacks, I was already behind, a lot behind on that game. Because 1 second, G assisted twice, didn't get anything. So yeah, it was not going my way. So game like that, you could not really recover even if you heal multiple times. It's really hard to recover. So that's okay. That's a game you could not win. Now we get into the second game that I lost, which was the one in Mouveau in France. That was another game that was also interesting, as I had to G assist on grade 1 yet again, didn't get the right grade 1, or didn't get a grade 1, and then he went to grade 2 while I was a grade 0, so I had to G assist again, get a grade 1. And even with that, I was playing against Grand Blue, against a very good player from France. Even with that, I could keep up with the pace of the game. But then, I didn't have a Rising. Without Rising, I had to ride into BullSpike first, then ride into Spiking Cyclone, which was a very, very, very bad momentum of the game, because I would rather ride to Cyclone first, then BullSpike, because I have more markers to move around, but I would just rather ride into a Rising. So without Rising, and with having to G-assist and going second, there are lots of things that are already not going your way, and you have to accept that there will be games like that you will lose. Now, the question comes in, yo, D-Boy, you had to G-assist 3 times on getting grade 1. So, does this mean that you play too little grade 1s? That you're short on a grade 1 when it comes to your lineup? Well, you could say that, because normally I play 12 grade 1s in the past, like way in the past, and then I changed it to 11. So my lineup normally looked like 11, 11, 11. 11 grade 1, 11 grade 2, 11 grade 3s. But I decided to play 10 to add in the linebacker in the deck. And now things could get very, very, very interesting. I did count this as a grade 1 in my mind while I was G-assisting, and I did not see him in the top 5 or in my hand as I was G-assisting. So even if this was a grade 1, it would not have made a difference on those games. So that's something I do keep in mind. That's why I play the 1 copy. Well, I don't have a grade 1, I keep in mind what if this was a grade 1, and that's when even when I G-assist check the top 5, if this was in it, then I would say, okay, I could have had a grade 1 if this was a grade 1. But that wasn't the case. But still, I understand some people saying, yo, D-Boy, you need to play more grade 1s, depending on what you want to play. Also remember that I play lots of draws, but again, it doesn't really matter, because riding into the grade 1, you didn't have damage yet. So it's understandable. Also, I don't mind G-assisting, because I do have cards, like you could lose 2 cards to get 1 back. I don't mind, but G-assisting and failing, that does hurt, especially if you go second. So in the future, the deck could change around to add more grade 1s, but then I hope to get more viable grade 1s, better grade 1s, because in my eyes, this is the only grade 1s that we play, which is sad, because this is a generic grade 1 that every clans have or has, and the problem is that most clans already have a better searcher than this. We don't have a Rising searcher, we don't have a BullSpike searcher, we don't have any searcher, and we have to rely on Acrobat Verdi, which I don't mind, because it's a beautiful card, it's a good card, it's a beautiful SP. But to be honest, this is actually the only good grade 1 that we have in the whole clan in V, which is strange. That's also the reason why we play so many Cray Elementals in Premium. So for me, we need the defensive great one, we need the easy great one to get pluses to the hand. There are lots of great ones that we could have in this clan. Like Gloria should have had um, own right skill instead of that skill that you counterblast one to call her if you guard with her. A counterblast is a heavy cost. I mean, if it was a soul blast, I would think about it, but the counterblast is way too heavy. So again, this is something that is interesting when you look at the clan. There are so many great twos that you will play, but there are not many great ones that you want to play. Or you have to rely on cards like Wonder Boy or Commander Gary Cannon, which, let's be honest, are from the first set. That's stupid. So that's my only concern when it comes to Spike, and I hope that in the new clan selection box that we will get a great one that is really good to use, and a great one that we would rather just put in the deck. Like something that gets an extra 10k shield, which actually would make a huge difference. Like you could just guard with it, or make easier soul, or call something, or pluses in any way. That would be amazing. Alright, I think that's it. That's everything I wanted to say. Next, we will do a combo video on the deck. I'll keep the same setting, just a new video, because yeah, this video is getting too long. So thank you for watching, thank you for tuning in our channel, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, learned something from it. I'm very happy with the support that we get. I'm also very happy to see people again at events, at Spring Fest, at whatever events, shop events, because guys, we really love you to see you. And the thing is, we also get the love back. Like when we enter that event with like the Crushing the Metal logo on our back, I mean, people came up to us, we go to people, I go to my friends, and we enjoy, we hug, we talk, and it's amazing to see everybody. So yeah, thanks for all the love, the support you give to our channel, you give to us, you talk to me personally on Facebook, now I talk to you guys, and you know that if you need something in life in general or just with spikes, you could always ask me and I will try to be there for you guys. So thanks for watching, until next time.